I remember when I was a little girl growing up and people asked me, what do you want to be, Chiquetta? I don't remember telling anybody that I wanted to be an addict and I wanted my life to be unmanageable. I use with an open mind. Just like I have to have an open mind to stay clean today. I have to have an open mind to be able to and have some hope and believe that I can get up out of the disease of addiction. I think back to when I first stopped using and I left the recovery home and I would make meetings and I would hear people say, don't use no matter what. And that didn't make any sense to me. I needed to know how not to use. I used to look at people sideways. What do you mean don't use no matter what? Because even though I knew in my heart I didn't want to use anymore, my mind was still telling me, you gotta get one. And I needed to know how not to use, not just don't use. It was real easy. People, I remember my mother and people that never used, they used to tell me, just don't use. What that mean to an addict?
I think that anybody who really wants to not use and who wants to do the things that they have to do to not use is capable of being clean.
That's right.
If they want to recover.
That's right. That's right. That's absolutely true. And that goes back to that honesty from the desire. See, when you have a desire comes from your heart. And when you have a desire in your heart, you have a motivation. Fear kept me out there just a little bit longer. I was so afraid that the overwhelming craving and sensation would be so intense that I would not be able to get over it. That was a lie. And I didn't know that. I'm so glad today that I did give myself a chance. Now that I know that I cannot believe my disease thinking. Everything my disease tell me, I cannot believe that. My disease thinking had me thinking that I was doomed to fail before I ever got started. Had I not at least given myself a try, at least try. If you don't try, how do you know you can't do something? The first time I hit that pipe, I didn't feel anything, but I kept at it until I got good at it, and I lost myself in getting good at it.
But they say we have to get honest with ourselves, but part of it also is sharing it with others. I find that we only can really do that if we are honest with ourselves, because I mean it's easy to be honest with yourself. I was honest with myself when I was using. I tell myself, you know, I've got to get one or I'm going to get sick as hell in about 2 or 3 hours. And you know, I just was not honest with anybody around me.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I remember sitting around with a bunch of addicts and guys says, you know what, I'm a junkie, I'm going to die a junkie. I'm being honest with you, you know, but I like it. You know, and it was, I guess really being honest means more telling on yourself. They say, you know, we're only as sick as the secrets that we keep.
Sure. As my disease progressed and I hit bottom and I began to look and see myself as I really was, then I made a decision. I wanted to stop using. And just because I made a decision to stop using did not mean that the disease of addiction made a decision to let me go. Today. Before I can love somebody else, I got to learn how to love me. And when I learn how to love me, I do the things that I have to do. Now, I love everybody around me. I love my family. But my recovery has to come first. Because if my recovery does not come first, I'm not going to have the apartment. I'm not going to have the job. I'm not going to have the car. I'm not going to have the marriage. DCFS is going to have the children. So all of that will be affected by me not keeping my priorities in order. Once I make my mind up to do whatever. See, when I was using, I was a good junkie. Now that I'm recovering, I'm a good recovering addict. I put my heart into whatever it is I'm doing. And I go at it just like I went after my addiction. I say I don't want no more today. And I mean I don't want no more. When my disease started talking to me and I had 30 days clean, and I didn't pick up. Not sometime, not most of the time, but every single time I wanted to use, I said, I don't want no more. I said it out loud. I said it like I meant it, and I mean it like I said it. I'll add more to it before I take any of it back. The disease of addiction don't care nothing about love. The disease of addiction don't care that you got children you need to feed. The disease of addiction don't care you need to eat yourself. The disease of addiction don't care that you need to get some sleep because you got a job. The disease don't care about nothing but being fed.
I used to get clean by, I did the rich white person's way to get clean, which was fly to Mexico for 3 weeks and lay around, drink margaritas and smoke marijuana all day. You know, because I didn't understand the nature of my problem. I guess that's kind of an understatement. I thought my problem was substance specific. I didn't realize that my problem was addiction in general, and that I can eliminate any and all substances, but if I don't deal with the basic issues of addiction, it's just going to flare up somewhere else.
True. So I was in refusal about believing that I had a problem. See, I didn't think I had a problem, but the world knew I had a problem. Everybody else knew I had a problem. I just didn't know I had a problem. Or better yet, I didn't want to admit I had a problem.
Every time we think we're fooling somebody, everybody else sees right through it. You know, we never fool anybody. Least of all those closest to us. And I remember when I was first using drugs, smoking marijuana, 18 years old, you know, and my friends all said, "Oh man, you really shouldn't be doing this." As we were passing a joint around, they said, "You shouldn't be doing this." And I'd be like, "Why not?" They'd say, "Because it's obvious, man, you've got an addictive personality."
Mm-hmm.
And that was obvious to someone with no training of any type, with no, you know, psychological, sociological, or addictive training or substance abuse training, could see immediately what it took me 40 years later, 30 years later to see.
I remember when the children used to look at Tales from the Crypt and my baby boy would say, "Think of mommy." That hurts. You know, when the truth is ugly, you're willing to believe a lie. I knew I had a problem, but I wasn't ready to do anything about it. Not until the disease progressed. See, I didn't lose my job overnight. I didn't lose my children's respect overnight. I didn't lose me overnight. I didn't lose my self-esteem and my self-respect. I didn't lose all that stuff overnight. As my disease progressed, I got less and less of a person. And I was degraded and reduced to not a human. People don't think of addicts as human beings. They think of addicts as one of those people. Like we're animals or something. Like nobody should care about us. At least this is the way my disease thinking told me. See, I look at the way people treated me when I was using. People that used to treat me with respect and had high opinions of me. As my disease progressed, they began to not respect me and think of me in the manner that they used to think of me. So I was losing my self-worth, and I lost a lot. I lost a lot of that.
Right. You know, and I know a lot of people think, "Oh, I'm gonna quit." You know, as soon as I quit doing what I was doing, you know, then my whole life will be better instantly. And it really isn't like that. That's an example again of more of that same thinking. The thing that led us into drugs, to me, is if I just do this one thing, everything will be cool. Mm-hmm. If I just get that one hit, if I just smoke that joint, if I just drink that double rum and coke, or 2 double rum and cokes right in the bar next to each other in my particular case, everything will be cool. But that same thinking, if you try to apply that to recovery, you're like, well, as soon as I quit taking these drugs, everything is going to be wonderful. And we find out that it really isn't. It's a growth process. It's the steps that you take. The first step, of course, is not to use, because we can't make any sense out of anything if we're high.
I did not think that I would get caught up. I thought I was unique because I was a church girl and because I have a college degree. I didn't think I would get caught up, but I found out that what addicts really were. I found out the addicts were not people that were walking up and down the alley looking and smelling like they wanted to be alone with needles hanging out of their arms. I found out that addicts were people that had jobs just like me. We call them functional addicts.
so many people speak their relapses into existence by just continually insisting that they're going to relapse, and that you have to speak your recovery into existence also.
I can't fight something and win if I don't know what it is I'm fighting. I am not fighting alcohol and drugs. Today, I'm fighting me. Me, myself, and I. The enemy lies in me. Drugs and alcohol is only 10% of the problem. The real problem is me. The enemy lies in me. My inability to deal with life on its own terms. My queen baby, my immaturity. Give me what I want when I want it, and I want it the way I want it, and I want it right now. See, I was told that if I wanted to recover, that I had to grow up. And today, I have. I might not be where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be. Recovery is a form of discipline. I have to discipline my flesh, because everything that looks good to me, feels good to me, or tastes good to me is not good for me. And I have to have the wisdom to know the difference. See, knowledge is knowing, but wisdom is doing. Just because I know better doesn't mean that I'm going to do better. I knew better when I picked up. See, I'm not confused about it. The disease of addiction is still down in me, but I have it arrested. My disease is arrested on death row with no chance of parole. If I was told in my early recovery that relapse usually happen in 90 days in stages and trimesters, and that's like every 90 days. So when I was coming up on that 90-day trimester, I would do something extra for my recovery. I would make an extra meeting, or I would talk to somebody extra. I would do something extra for my recovery to fill that void, to keep from thinking about using. And item mine is the devil's workshop. If you don't want to use, and not just not use, but don't want to lie, cheat, steal, or manipulate, if you don't want to do anything that's gonna hurt your recovery, you have to expose that thing so you won't act out on it. I was told once I exposed it, the chances are that I would not act out on it. So same things with that reservation. You have to tell. See, your disease is listening to you. You are hung by your own tongue. If you said, I can't do this, you're not going to do this. If you said, I can do this for only 6 months, you're going to do it for 5 months. Because the relapse process began before you ever pick up. You know, relapse is not part of recovery. It's part of the disease of addiction. And if you keep saying I'm a chronic relapse, you're going to keep relapsing. See, but I was told to treat my recovery like it's a precious jewel. Anything that's precious to you, you're going to guard it. When I was a practicing addict, I guarded my drugs because my drugs was of value to me. Where today, my life and my recovery is of value to me. So I guard my recovery. I guard my life because I want to live today. Drugs shatters dreams, but recovery make your dreams becomes reality. You know, I used to fantasize about staying clean, what it would be like to be clean. Can I do this thing? I used to just wonder, what would it be like to have my own car, to be able to come and go back and forth? Would I be a productive member of society? What does it feel like to have my own ATM card and be able to have money in the bank and let it stay there longer than 6 months? You know, I wanted to know what it would be like to have keys to my own apartment again. I lost all that stuff. But one day at a time, I practiced not getting high. The disease of addiction is not playing with me, so I'm not playing with recovery. I hear people say, fake it till you make it. How you gonna have a fake solution for a real problem? I don't believe in fake it till you make it. I could not fake a hit and feel a rush. So I don't believe in faking it till you make it. I did the only thing I knew not to get high at that time. I don't want no more. And when I did that, the pressure was lifted up off me. And as I did the intensive outpatient care, I learned about the disease of addiction. And I learned about recovery. And then my counselor, he told me to name it, then claim it, to grab it, then to blab it, then grab it. And they told me to tell my disease thinking every time I wanted to use, I don't want no more. And that's exactly what I did, y'all. And it's 5 years later. And as I went to sleep, I went into a dream. And in the dream, it was a dream of my own funeral. Folks was all outside trying to get in to see my body. That's an eerie feeling. And as I looked down, tears began to roll down my face, and that's what woke me up. I couldn't help but feel why all these people wouldn't let me know that they loved me while I was alive.